Hello, everyone. We are very excited today to have Dr. Valamere Mikler, and she hails from Opelika, Florida, which is not too far from us in Miami-Dade County. She is currently an adjunct professor at many universities. She's also the program advisor and Leadership Academy Fellowship Advisor for Girls Who Code. She has a bachelor's in criminal justice from the University of Central Florida, a master's in human service business management from Liberty University, and a PhD in industrial organizational psychology from Walden University. So she's also the founder of SheRanTech, which is a digital privacy and technology education initiative that educates and empowers girls and women on the internet safely on internet. Nope, I'm going to back up. I'm going to say that again, Robin. She is the founder of SheRanTech, a digital privacy and technology education initiative educating and empowering girls and women on internet safety and securing STEM careers, especially for those who identify as a person of color. So while she's not advocating for equitable spaces in DEI, you'll find her enjoying family and friends, outdoor activities, trying out the newest bakery. Yes, we're here for that. Cafes and boba tea shops. She is self proclaimed the non traditional techie. So we'll definitely get into that. So welcome.
Thank you. I am so excited to be here because, transparency moment, this is my very first podcast guest appearance. So this is
Oh,
wonderful. Yeah.
yay! We get to be the first.
Hey.
Super exciting.
Awesome. Yes. So we first met Valamere at Grace Hopper. Was that 2018?
Yeah.
Ni-
No,
Yeah.
19.
2019.
Or
It was
19.
19.
2019.
19, okay.
It was 19 because I was
Before
pregnant.
we, yes. Yes, she was pregnant with Amara, and now Amara is a whole walking, talking individual
A
with
lot of personality.
personality and opinions.
You need to get her on the podcast.
Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
wow.
That, I don't even want to imagine. But we're so happy that we've been able to reconnect because as soon as we met her, we are like, "You need to be on the podcast." So I'm like, "Let's resurrect those old emails. Let's have you on." I remember us hearing your story and being like, "You are someone that our listeners and our viewers should really hear about." We like to focus on all of the different pathways into tech and promoting tech and getting people into that door. So this is why we're here today. So you have a very illustrious career. You've done a lot of things. You are doing a lot of things. So when you were very young in Opelika, Florida, was this what you imagined yourself going into and how you imagine yourself contributing to society?
Actually, no, I did not. To be honest, I was just like a lot of young people, just trying to figure out what I want to be when I grow up. As a matter of fact, I think I'm still a little bit trying to navigate that, but have a lot more clarity. So, growing up in Opelika, you know, we didn't have many advantages in terms of promoting like tech programs, or it was just either sports, which were mainly like football, basketball, or either maybe something in the arts. That was really it. But there was no one, kind of helping you to identify what those gifts are, and then providing the spaces and programs to nurture them and develop into them. So to be honest, I remember like in kindergarten kind of starting off saying, "Oh, I want to be have a beauty salon. I want to also own a business. I want to also be a doctor." So I had just identified with so many things I wanted to be, but nothing to kind of say, this is it. This is what I want to be. So from elementary, middle school, high school, just kind of seeing some things I noticed myself that I was good at. I know in elementary school, third grade was actually my first touch point of technology. And that's where we had a computer lab. And in the computer lab, we were only had privileges to go there to play games when we were good in class. And that was it. And I remember,
That's how my school was.
see?
So bad.
And I was like, okay. And that's the first concept of, okay, digital learning, but more so like this is what you do on a computer. You play games, and that was it. So still at that point, I did not decide, figure out, okay, tech is the way to go. Well, that was just like, okay, when you get on a computer, you just play games and that's it. So just kind of
You
move.
can play Math Blasters and Family
That's
Feud.
it. Yeah. And so
Math
moving
blaster.
along with that, I just, I think in ninth grade, I think I kind of figured out, okay, I cannot be all of these things. I have to figure out something. Actually, before I got into ninth grade, I was accepted into here in South Florida. There is an architect, school, design and architect school, high school, and I got accepted into that. So I thought I was going to become an architecture. Yeah, I was going to get into that. And unfortunately, it was too
Love
far
that.
to get to the school. And they did not offer
Mm.
transportation
Mm.
because there's only a couple of students from my area. And it was like way like down south to get there. And my parents at the time, because they felt that I was still too young to do public transportation by myself, such a long distance,
Mhm.
I couldn't go. So I got into high school, and my first 2 years of high
Mm.
school, I was taking drafting classes, and that was my way of saying, okay, I'm going to maybe design because I was good at art too. I said maybe I'll design buildings,
Mm.
and I figured that would be my path, but that didn't happen. So no,
S- Same.
yeah,
I think didn't someone yesterday? You're the second guest in a row to talk about being an architect, wanting to be an architect
I mean,
originally.
it
really,
seems like a natural thought
hmm.
process, right? Like it's one of the first things that we
Yeah,
understand is something you can build, right? A structure. And
Yeah,
so,
that's
yep,
true.
the art,
yeah,
we don't learn about civil engineering. We learn about architecture
right,
before we
That's
learn
true.
about civil engineering, which,
absolutely.
I got issues with as a civil engineer. But that's a whole other
Hmm.
story
Yeah.
for another day.
Okay, okay, okay. Yeah, so I think that was
So
my
you
way of
did. So
making.
you're in high
Yeah.
school.
No, I'm saying I think that was my way of kind of making a
Oh no, go ahead.
connection to, again, trying to figure out what it is that I want to do. Now, I didn't know anything about engineering. That wasn't introduced at all. We had no programming around that even in high school. It was mentioned here or there, but people
Mm-hmm.
like that my peers, no one was talking about becoming an engineer, no any type of engineer. So it was again either sports, something in art, or maybe a scientist, but still that's yeah.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah. So was college always on the table for you in terms of, when you finished high school? Were you always thinking about University of Central Florida? So, like, what was that transition when you were looking from going, not only going from high school to college, but also
Mm-hmm.
picking a major when she did that?
Well, I had my sister as my role model or the one I looked up to. She is only 1 year older than I am, and but yet she was 2 grades ahead of me. So
Mm.
I was still in high school and
Mm.
she was, starting off college. And she went to, did her first 2 years at UCF. And because she went there and, we had to drop her off, I fell in love with the college myself. And of course, I wanted to, because my sister did it, I'm like, yeah, I want to go too. Still had no idea what I want to major in or what is it that I want to do, because her career path was more so communications and political science and becoming a lawyer. That's she knew specifically what she wanted from such an early age and was very focused on that. So I thought, well, if I follow in her tracks to get to college, go to the same college, then maybe that will help me focus and decide on my major, what it is I want to do. So she went the first 2 years, and the funny thing is, she just again did her first 2 years there. She left to come back home to go to to the University of Miami. And I was
Mm.
getting ready to go to college. So I went to UCF. And that first,
Oh,
yeah,
you missed her. She was already
I
gone.
was like, that would have been so cool to have like my big sister at the same university with me, and she can show me the ropes, and
Y'all could have been roommates. Like that would have
Yeah.
been cool.
Oh wow, that would have been so cool, but it didn't happen that way. So I ended up, and to be quite honest, I struggled just even academically, and it's so funny because in high school I was like in the top, what, 10% to graduate, and we had what, over 500 students in our class to graduate, and had the top
Wow.
GPA and everything. And to go from that to now, here I am in college, first 2 years, still didn't know what it is I want to do or major in.
Mm-hmm.
um and actually that first semester got on academic probation. And but I can tell you this, I found my way into a computer lab. As a matter of fact, the computer lab was a hangout at UCF. It was kind of funny. Like, okay, we were supposed to be in there doing work, either typing up a report or research or whatever you're doing. But that's where you went to go meet your friends, kind of hang out. Had a little corner over here,
Hmm.
and it was right next to the computer science building. And so I remember even taking a computer
Okay.
science class. I struggled in that too.
Hmm.
I was like, maybe that's not for me. I don't know. And I think that was the first time I was even introduced to engineering. What was engineering? Like, they even had an engineering department. So I was like, computer science, engineering, maybe. But after I took that first intro to computer science class and did not do well, it's like, maybe we need to look into something else.
Yeah, sometimes they structure it like a weed out course where it's like, hey, if you have not seen this already, you may not do well in this. And if you're someone who's trying to just see, am I interested in this? Like they just hit you with all of it on the in the
Hmm.
face as soon as you walk in. You're like, this is crazy. All of you need to sit down.
Yeah,
But they're trying to get away from using these intro classes as weed out because there's tons of people with lots of potential who don't need to be smacked in the face with people who have been doing this their entire lives, or they have a
hmm,
parent that's done it, or they went to a tech high school, and you have these feelings of inadequacy, or just
yep,
you need a little more help getting the material.
absolutely.
So
And it does not help that
yeah.
they, at the time, they had the classes like hundreds of students.
Oh yeah,
Big classes like that.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. The
really, how are
intro.
you really?
Yeah, ours is like I think 600 or 700 right now.
That is crazy.
You just get lost
Yeah,
in the weeds. Like you just kind of you become a
it's getting
number.
Hmm.
worse too. It's not gonna get any better because I mean, if you think about it career-wise, a lot of what everyone does is technology enabled, and so
Hmm.
there is some school of thought that we should all have some fundamental understanding of coding and computer
Hmm.
science. And there's even places like University of Florida who are even deeper in the weeds, like trying to get everybody on board with artificial intelligence, right? So
Okay.
we have to figure that out, but it's not a trivial task to
Hmm.
engage everyone in computer science, at
Right.
least meaningfully.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I taught that intro course, and you have to like treat I try to treat everyone as though they had never seen
Hmm.
this before. But then you have people who are like, I had a guy who was already working for Microsoft
What?
from high school. Like he was very talented. Like if I gave them, something to do in class, he's done it and then done it in another language, and then also wants to project his laptop
Oh.
to the class
Oh
to show them
wow.
what he's
Oh
done.
wow. Okay.
So I'll be like, okay, Robert, the last couple minutes of class, you can come up and show everybody what you did. But he always had like, but how do you teach the person who's like, I just got my first
Mm-hmm.
computer, all the way to the student
Right.
who already has a working relationship with the software company? Like
Impossible.
yeah, I think it's like math. I
Oh,
think we
for
need a
sure.
placement test. I think we need to,
Exactly.
we don't have it, but
And that's the thing. I know they had that under the general education requirements as one of the options. You had to take computer science. That was one of the
Mm-hmm.
options you could take. Or I can't remember the other choices you had. So that's also how a lot of people got into it as well, because they was trying to fulfill a requirement. They didn't have either a desire to learn, or they was not exploring. This is like something to check off. off my list to do
Yeah.
Yeah.
because I've had friends like that too. So, unfortunately, that didn't work for me. So I was like, what are we going to do? Then
So you
I
chose criminal
decided,
justice.
yes, which is so totally like on the other end of the spectrum, like criminal justice,
Yeah.
CJ. And I think my desire for CJ really kind of came where, I grew up, in South Florida, in the area where there was crime, there was, just deviant behavior, all of that. And I'm always for justice in general, like for people. So I figured maybe I can try my hand in criminal justice. Maybe I could,
Mm-hmm.
especially work with the juvenile justice system, because for some reason I just felt drawn to the younger people that I was like, okay, maybe I could kind of help them, kind of be a mentor, some sort of way. So um, did the program, graduated. As a matter of fact, it took me an extra year because I spent so much time at the front end exploring, taking this class and that
Mm-hmm.
class. Mind you, my minor at the time was psychology. So I was probably a few classes short of actually that becoming my major. So if I would have done that, then that would have added on another year and a half, maybe, to finish. So I just said, let's just finish with criminal justice. And after I finished that, I did not go into the Department of Juvenile Justice. I didn't do that. I
Mm-hmm.
actually ended up working in the legal um, office for an insurance company as
Oh.
a legal assistant. Yeah. I
Mm-hmm.
was like, this is not, and I was not happy with that. I'm like, this is not where I see my life going. But I figured I had to do something.
So it wasn't like personally fulfilling.
No, not at all.
Was it that it wasn't personally fulfilling, or
No,
okay,
it wasn't. No, not at all. It just was
okay,
a lot of paperwork, making sure to prepare the pleadings for the attorney and help with some research. That was it, day in and day out. That's what. And I'm like, doing this 8 hours a day, I can't do it. This is crazy. And at that point, I was like, okay, well, let me just, maybe I need to go back to school. And again, here I am with, I want to help. I want to help. I have that like kind of nurturing, helping, like kind of passion to help people in me. So I said, human services, let me look into that. And it so happened that it had a specialization in business management. And so I spent 2 years getting my master's. And I don't think I ever, no, I don't think I ever I did look for a career in human services, but again, I kind of felt that this is still not it. This is not what I want to do.
mm,
I don't know. I don't know. So even at the time of pursuing my master's degree, I had left the law office and I went to work at UCF. Now I always had like
mm-hmm.
a couple of positions at UCF as a work study student. So even when I had came back, it was easy for me to, secure a more full-time position because I still knew some of my contacts there. So at the time of pursuing my master's degree, I was working at UCF. I worked in the registrar's office as a program assistant. And then for several years, and then I found my way into the College of Health and Public Affairs, working in the Communication Sciences and Disorders Department, again, as a program assistant and advising as well. So, and finished up my master's, and then again, still not satisfied in what I was doing in higher education and um, the degree, have the master's. So I said, maybe I need to get a PhD. Yeah, yeah.
You
And
were
I
around a
went
lot of
back to,
people who had them.
yeah, yeah, I was because I
So,
was working with faculty. So yeah, I was working with the
mm-hmm.
faculty, and So yeah, that I think that probably did kind of because also there was a really good. I became close with a young lady who was also she was getting her PhD, but she was getting it in communication sciences and disorders. And so seeing her go through it, and she was sharing her experience, although it was a challenge to finish the dissertation, but I was like, okay, I think I could do a PhD too. I mean, why not? I'm not happy doing what I'm doing now, so
Mm-hmm.
I enrolled
Mm-hmm.
into the PhD program, Industrial Organizational Psychology, with a
Okay. How?
specialization in
And what made you choose that?
look. I think first of all, like I mentioned before, my minor is was in my psychology when I was getting my CJ degree, bachelor's degree.
Mm-hmm.
So I figured, oh, I liked working in psychology because I was a work study student as well in the psychology department for a year or two. So I said, okay,
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed that. Plus, that was my minor. So why not get a degree in psychology, but specifically industrial organizational? Because I've always noticed different things going wrong wherever I worked: people, management,
Mm.
turnover, the disengagement, all of the things.
Mm-hmm.
So I figured I like psychology. I'm interested in how people behave while they're at work. And people spend most of their day at work. Why not? Maybe I could,
Mm-hmm.
consult
Yeah.
or something. And that's how I found my way into that program. Yep.
Hmm.
That makes a lot of sense. I could see that. Like you were definitely you're gonna keep a job. That's one thing I've noticed in your trajectory. You keep a job,
Listen,
but you were like sort of meta in the background. Like, how can this be better? How can this change?
and you're right. I wouldn't just keep a job. I had multiple jobs at once because all the while that I was working at
Yeah.
UCF part time, I was teaching as an adjunct. There was a Valencia College, the
Oh my
community,
goodness.
college. I was teaching general psychology, you know. So
Did you sleep at all?
you would wonder, but I got a couple of hours of sleep. That's what I ran on pretty much every day. A couple of hours of sleep,
Just a
and
couple.
yeah,
Yeah.
That's wild.
yep. So that's that's pretty much what I did.
I think like we've had someone in kind of the behavioral psychology space on the podcast before, but industrial
Yes.
and organizational psychology is a completely different space. So
Hmm.
could you kind of help the listeners understand what organizational psychology is? Because I feel like people have an idea of what it is, and that's not it. Because I had to learn that because I have a cousin who's in that space.
Yeah, because a lot of times people, every time I say it, they say, "What? What is that?" And then when I start mentioning, okay, it's pretty much you're looking at how people behave at work, they automatically say HR. That's like human resources. I'm like, not quite. Okay.
Not
We have like
exactly.
some functions we can work with it, but it's really, again, kind of looking at the processes, the science behind, okay, why people behave the way they do. Not only why, it's really kind of going in there looking at because there's theories behind it. But for the most part, it's where people can figure out, again, the process on how they could correct. Like for example, if there is a organization that's experiencing turnover, people coming, they'll come there 1 month and then the next thing you know, they quit. Okay, let's find
Mm-hmm.
out why they're quitting and what are the things that we could do as a company to make sure that we retain this employee. There's different things you can do. You have to also look at the motivation because what motivates me may not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily motivate the next employee. So it's like the organization kind of have to figure out what it is that would motivate their employees to stay. Also, what type of culture environment they are creating for their employees to not only stay with them, but to thrive in the company and to make sure that the company will be able to produce. They have the revenue coming in, because it's who they have working for them that can make that happen. But it can't happen if, for example, again, they have people kind of coming and going as a revolving door, because that costs companies money,
Mm,
because they have to train, they have to recruit, hire, and train, and develop these
yeah.
employees. So it's such a high cost, even in that. So these are some things that organization have to look at. We look at talent acquisitions, recruitment strategies, just all of those things. And that's just only one part. Then we have training and development, which could be its own, it's actually its own segment and area where organizations have to kind of figure out, um, what are the strategies, what are some of the practices we have to do in order to onboard. First of all, look at when you bring on someone, you're onboarding them. What's the first 30 days look like? Specifically, what are the tasks they're doing? Then what's the next 60 days, the next 30 days? And this actually pretty much says how you're going to, from start to how you're going to retain them throughout, the tenure or however long, you hope that they will stay. It's the way in which you set up your training at the very beginning, from onboarding all the way through. So, and how they're
And
developing over time.
Wow.
They have to
and
look
you
at it. So
mentioned,
it's a lot.
so this is your PhD space. So I
Yep.
remember looking up your dissertation work just because it was
Oh,
actually fairly recent. It was in 2022 that you finished.
yes.
And so you looked at motivations of millennials and Gen Z to stay in the workforce, which I think is hilarious, but also like as a millennial, I see friends of mine who are like, I'm here for a good time, but not a long time.
Mm-hmm. 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 Mm-hmm.
And I think that's like the
Yeah.
mentality of a lot of folks today is like, if the environment's great, if it's fun over here, if I'm able to do the work that I want to do, I'll stay. But as soon as something changes, I'm gonna find where the grass is greener,
Oh,
hopefully.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So what were some of the things that you found that you were like shocked by maybe in your work?
Well, I am a no, not really shocked. I think it was more so confirmation for me to see.
Oh, okay.
For example,
Right.
the millennials, can stay somewhere for 3 to 5 years and then wanting to do the next. It's just really kind of that, I would say, mini retirements, or transitioning into something else, because just don't want to be like what the older generations were, where they would stay at a company for 30 plus years, 50 plus years.
Mm.
And when they leave, I don't know if they can feel something personally satisfied by it, but it's like, I did all of this, but I get a trophy or I get a pin or something that's like, it's not,
Mm.
doesn't really feel appreciative. You would think after
Mm-hmm.
several decades being with them. So the millennials having that mindset where, you know, listen, we come in here, we're going to learn what we need to learn. Let's move on to the next. And a lot of times, even often, millennials I found have that entrepreneur, you know, um, kind of spirit ingrained in them, where they want to be their own boss. They want to
Mm-hmm.
start something up. And another thing something I would say about the Gen Z that's after us, because I'm millennial too, is Gen Z. I was very surprised. This is what I was surprised about Gen Z. Their compassion, their desire, motivation to support and push anything concerning social change. They really are like kind of the forerunners of
Mm.
wanting to change the world. And that is so awesome. So much so to where they bring it to work and no work really gets done in the organization because they're so focused on that. And another thing, want to be the boss and you only been here a couple of weeks. That's the thing about Gen
Mm-hmm.
Z. They want to run the show after being
Yeah.
somewhere. just a
Yeah.
few weeks or months. No, doesn't work like that. So those were very interesting findings
Right.
for me. One thing I would like to further research is kind of looking at particular regions and locations, because that
Mm.
actually
Mm.
says a lot. And looking at specific industries is like really determine, I think, how motivated, let's say, millennial or Gen Z or the generation after would stay or be committed to an organization. So, kind of looking where you're currently located, and a lot of positions now are remote. So it's like doesn't matter really kind
Mm-hmm.
of where you're located, but then again it does, because wherever you set up, to do your
Yeah.
work will determine again how you want to stay within a particular position or with the particular company. So that's something I
Mm-hmm.
really want to explore because I didn't find much at the time when I was doing my research with that.
Hmm.
So I'm browsing through your dissertation as you're talking. You had over 200 and something participants.
Yes, which was very surprising. I was like, "Oh,
Wow.
you all want to participate?
Wow.
Okay." And most of them were millennials, so um, I really wanted to
Okay.
get definitely a lot more Gen Z, and I also wanted to get even the older Gen X, and which was hard to do, and the seniors because
Yeah.
they're out of there. About retired. They don't want to talk about work. They just want to
They thinking about leaving.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, but I feel like we're hearing that Gen Z millennials, there's no loyalty. There's just, or for Gen Z, you have to connect it to their heartstrings to something that has to do with justice. And then
Absolutely.
millennials, it's like you need to get your organizational culture together, or and
Yeah.
there is no
None.
And
loyalty.
even with
I ain't staying over
millennials,
there.
maybe,
Yeah.
okay, maybe with millennials, try to have more entrepreneurial opportunities where they can
Mm.
be inside bosses. Does that make sense?
And
Where they could
and
kind of,
I think it's partially like
Yeah.
they want to put their stamp on something, right? Like they want to
mm-hmm,
show that
Mm-hmm.
they are capable or able to create and engage and do these things where I feel like a lot of older people just did stuff. Like it was like, tell me
yeah,
what to do, I'll do the
Yeah.
things.
Right. Get that good
that
government
makes sense.
job by
Yeah.
your house, and you don't have to run the show as
But
long
we're
as you're
like,
stable.
no, like imagine, let's try this.
Right.
And sometimes that is like
Yeah.
the culture clash that I see where it's like we're innovative and we want to make things
Mm-hmm.
better, like not go
Yeah,
with the status
Yeah.
quo.
I can see that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can definitely see that for us millennials.
That's
Hmm.
me.
Yeah. Yeah,
Anyway.
that's me too. I identify with that too.
So
Yeah.
yes. I mean, it makes sense, like you said, that a lot of this was confirming things that you had already been seeing. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
yep, I can
Mm-hmm.
definitely, there's no pushback for like, what Gen Z does this? Like everything basically sounds like, yep, that sounds like them.
Yeah,
So
because
how did
I
this
was
like oh, go
no,
ahead.
no, I was gonna just pretty much just give an example of how that is so true. I was working for a nonprofit for just a small, short period of time, and I was actually a supervisor to their internship program. And Gen Z, here they come. They just was there a few weeks, and two of them in particular came up to me, said, "Oh, we did the training. We just want to know, can we coordinate and do this instead? We want to be able to take over." This program here, because it was a film, part of the internship had to do with film creation, so they wanted to pretty much take over the whole thing. And I was like, well, I mean, just started like 2 weeks ago, and I know you finished your training, but there's some things that I would like to make sure that you understand and walk you through before I can show you, and you can shadow me for a little bit longer, and then we'll talk about maybe transitioning you into a lead role. And so one of them in particular was very disappointed in that, and so because of that I saw some disengagement. So I
Wow.
tried to pull that person in and say, hey, can you come show, show everyone, this, how do you set this up? And they were so disengaged because they were not the one in charge. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. It's almost like a toddler where it's like, I want to drive the car. You're stop
Yeah, right.
it.
Yes. Yes.
It's like,
Yeah.
oh, I can't do it now. I'm not the boss
Mm-hmm.
anymore. I don't want to do this.
I
Yeah.
mean, that's real. So, how did this kind of focus on workforce and careers and people encourage you to move into technology? Like, where did that come from?
Oh wow. So when I when I think back at the different touch points of how I was engaged with technology, I was like, okay, this is starting to make sense. I can see how it's connecting the dots. Um, I remember a time when I was just going into high school, and right before then, I remember having to I know we had to write more papers, like for our English class, and it was another class too. So I was like, okay, what I did was I wrote Miami-Dade County Public School Board, and I asked them to donate a computer to me. And so I didn't, think they would. So months passed. Here I am going into ninth grade and having to submit reports. And I remember we had an electronic typewriter at home. So I, typed up my little paper. It was, came out nice and everything, but it wasn't, as if it was printed from computer. So after several months, I finally received a letter back from them saying, thank you so much for your letter. And pretty much they said, we want to donate a computer to you. And I was like, what?
Oh,
Yeah, I was
wow.
like, okay, you have not because you asked not. All right. So I just saw that, as an
Mm.
opportunity to like, okay, this is my chance to really do something. Not only type up reports, like what else can I do with this computer? And at the time, people I knew, they didn't have computers. Most of them had to use the school, computer lab. So here I was thinking like, oh, we have a computer at home. Now this is the thing, have a computer at home, but no internet access. So, and my parents, they could not
Mm.
afford the internet access. I don't know if you remember or not, but AOL used to mail out the
Yep.
CDs with hours on
Little
them.
CDs.
Man, I'm telling you, that was
Yes.
like such a lifesaver. That was how we were able to connect to the internet. And since that time, connecting, hey, I was like, oh, where my disc at? Put it in, was able to get online. And even though it was slow, I didn't know, because what did I have to compare it to?
Yeah. That's all you have. You
Right.
don't know it's slow.
Right. And
Right.
so that at that point I was like, okay, I think we got something here. We got something here. So ever since then, I just again started just kind of using the computer to do my research, type up my reports and everything. And when I got to um, my master's, now I did get my taste of like online learning. I did a few classes on my bachelor's level at UCF. I said, I think
Hmm.
I like how this online learning is. I'm working on the learning management system. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got my master's, and that was a totally, fully online program. Although Liberty
Mm-hmm.
University is on campus, I did my master's program completely online. And then my PhD.
You didn't miss anything in Lynchburg,
Okay.
Virginia.
Okay. Because I figured it wasn't.
You did not. I spent a summer
Okay.
there, and I promise you,
Okay. Okay.
you did not miss
She was in
anything.
Orlando living
Okay.
the dream.
Listen,
Yes.
okay, but still remote. That's the whole concept of being anywhere to work, to do school, and I was like, I like how this technology feel. Okay, did the whole master's program online, then went on to do the PhD program all online, and I think that was like really kind of feeding into my desire to really figure out what all this technology is about. And when I was in college, now my PhD program, I actually, some kind of way, it was a student organization called Women, Walden Women in Tech. And when I saw that, and it was a brand new student organization, I saw that, I said, what this about? I decided, let me sign up. When I signed up for it, um, Dr. Jodine Rochelle, she was our faculty advisor. And I'm telling you, she was just, and she also taught at that university and others. And she um, was in data science, and she really kind of opened me up to more about advocating for women in technology, because
Mm.
our what we learned in that, we began to build a digital packages to where we were sharing that with libraries, schools, and anyone to pretty much draw the interest of technology and computers to girls, who may not know about it. So we kind of put together these kind of brochures, these resources and things, so that we can share them out, and just anything to kind of get us into it, because she was like, that was her thing. Like, she was like, oh, okay, you want a career computer science, or you want to do something in tech, I support you. You see a scholarship
Mm.
out there, I'll refer, I'll write the recommendation letter for you, because she said we need more of us in the field. She's like, it's too many white people, white men in the
Okay.
field. So it's like, okay. So I was the president, no, vice president of that organization, and I held another position in that organization as well. So
So that was the origin story of how you got into
mhm.
tech.
Yes, yes. So I
Mm.
was not the one who took computer science or learned about it when I was younger. No. And as a matter of fact, even through the time where I was working with Walden Women in Tech, I remember doing a couple of boot camps and self-taught. So I do know, some JavaScript, and so I was like, yes, a little bit of coding I would do, but yeah, I was like, this is my way. That makes me non-traditional.
So is that how
Yeah.
you came
Did
up
this
with SheRanTech? Sorry, Kyla.
Now the she ran tech, it
the
came
segment?
along the time when I was in the student organization. What I saw for me was that, okay, I'm advocating for women to find their place, in the world of tech. And one thing I was noticing, and I've done, did some back research, is there was a lot of how, you know, girls and young women, some young women would behave online. And when I saw some of the stats, I was like, whoa. Like, even those who were harassed for being, identified female identifying and being a gamer, they were harassed like 5 times more than a male would be. And then also just looking at, okay, because a lot of our time is spent online, that kind of opens you up to be more vulnerable to overshare information,
Mm.
tell people where you are, what you're doing. And then you have the people trolling you online.
Mm-hmm.
And so I saw that. I said,
Yeah.
something needs to be done about that. Just having that awareness. Since I am an educator, I want to be able to bring awareness to that and to teach, our girls and our young women on how to be safe online. Yes, you can, you know, share some things going on, but how you're sharing it. Just kind of telling you how to, your digital, what is your digital footprint? Like, how to make sure you're not,
Mm.
exposing yourself to those who could potentially come after you, like, with online sex trafficking, especially our younger girls who just really just be clicking around and chatting with whoever, and just again having the location on.
Yeah.
all of those things. So that's why I was like, SheRanTech. That's something, it's a digital privacy, just really kind of showing you how to cover yourself and not oversharing and taking even that unproductive time you spend online. Let's learn more about technology. What are some areas you want to get into? Because it's so vast now. It's not just coding. It's not just your computer science
Right.
building software. You can create a game. And AI is now becoming more popular. What can you do with AI? There's instructional design. People are like, what is that? Okay, you can create like the curriculum and content that is shared for when people are learning things online. It doesn't have to be school, it can be
Mm-hmm.
companies. How are you doing that? Or you could become a learning management system administrator. How people actually, the courses that they build online, you can be the one to manage that and build that out. So much into that. So that's why I really started SheRanTech. It's because I saw the vulnerabilities online, and really having that heart for our young girls and our women, and wanting to make sure they know how to be safe online as well as secure a place in tech. Yeah.
That's awesome. How long have you been running SheRanTech?
Since 2019. Yep, the latter part of
Okay.
2019. So was very very new, still very new, I think, to me, because even with SheRanTech, what I was able to do is become a site for with because Girls Who Code, what they do is they allow for organizations and groups to become like a whole site and to start um, coding clubs. And so I started a
Oh, that's
Girls
cool.
Who Code after school program. And the it's so ironic because the way that I was getting together and it started, it ran into when COVID hit, the beginning of
Of course.
2020. Yes. So that just totally,
Of course.
which is great because, everything went online. Everybody was virtual. And so
Mm-hmm.
the good thing is the way the Girls Who Code curriculum, because being a site, you use the Girls Who Code curriculum, which actually entails,
Mm.
teaching coding, like the girls or those who identify as female can learn, build games using Scratch. They could learn, the coding to build, an app. So there's just so many things. And the great thing about it is Girls Who Code is all about give back and social change.
Mm.
So the projects and
Mm-hmm.
the things that they're doing have to do with what is the problem you see in your community? What's the solution for it? Do you have a solution for it? And they begin to
Mm.
create these things. And so it's been great seeing the girls who's gone through my Girls Who Code after school program actually build these things. And I even went from that to, they also have a college loop, which is a support network for the college women.
Mm.
And so I had
Nice.
started that a year ago, and I've gotten a few college women to join on, and they use that time to meet. They had a mini hackathon, also using the time to
Oh,
study,
nice.
yeah, for their CompTIA. So yeah, it's been a good experience so far. So
That's
yeah.
awesome. So, was the ramp up really difficult? Because it sounds like you need a lot of people, you need volunteers, instructors, a place. How much
Yeah.
did they help facilitate some of that, like ramp up?
Well, the thing is with the way it was is that because again, running right into COVID, and actually since then, because it really
Mm.
started at the time when we had to go virtual, it's now still virtual. So it makes it a lot more easier,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
to get more participants, and then just running off of volunteers because unfortunately the budget's not there to hire anyone. I do know that 2 summers ago we were able to have a tech internship where we hired a tech a high school student to help us. Um, but that was, we only had funding for that particular, intern. So it's just now moving forward for the next year and the year, next 2 years rather, is finding out how we can make a greater impact, because so far we've touched about 300 people between, we
Wow.
had we had two digital workshops. That was actually in person, and that was in Opalaka Tech Hire Center. Yay. Woo-hoo. When we first started
Nice.
in 2019. And then from that point, between the Girls Who Code after school program and the college loop support network that we have, that has what we've gathered. And another thing I did want to mention is that, being the researcher that I am, I do have, and it's still underway, it's called the Cyber Psych and Code Research Project. And that is actually geared toward looking at the recruitment of minority female identifying students and kind of recruiting them into cyber psychology programs, and to gauge their interests in
Tell us
STEM.
about cyber psychology, because that's something we saw in your profile. We were like, we got to talk about that.
Yes, yes. And the funny
Yes.
thing is,
What's all of
because
that?
that actually, the term cyber psychology really didn't get its start till, I want to say, like the mid 90s, and becoming a thing, because, that's when they really kind of started ramping up, like internet. Like I mentioned before, AOL had that real direct,
Yeah.
like, mail campaign where you just had got a CD every week in the mail from them.
Yeah.
So
They were like, you're going to get on this internet.
yeah, so people were being engaging more online, right? And not, pretty much just kind of throwing stuff out there, not really knowing if
Mm-hmm.
the internet, what it was
Mm-hmm.
or what it could be. So even from
Yeah.
that point, the whole cyber psychology of it is like how people behave online. What is it that, and that's how even deviant behavior starts. People are, again, I mentioned it before, they're either trolling, or they're just kind of looking and being unproductive and looking for things to do, and start like doing hacking, and just really kind of scams come up and all of that. So the whole cyber psychology part of it is just really kind of getting an understanding of, okay, why people, how they interact online. And it can be just any touch of technology, because even, from our mobile devices, and even the wearable technology we have, like, how does that
Mm-hmm.
dictate even how we respond to people as well. So just having an understanding of that, and then kind of coming up with ways to deter, I would say, those deviant behaviors, and just finding healthy
Yeah.
ways to behave, because even social media is the big thing now. And as I mentioned before, that's one of the reasons why SheRanTech exists, is because we want to really minimize the social media trolling. So if we can get an understanding of why people go on there, they may not put up a profile picture. They may, hide behind, words. What is that all
Mm-hmm.
about? And what can we do to deter that? So it's just kind of, again, getting
Yeah.
more people into understanding that, is what the whole research project is about.
Yeah. Speaking of research, have you had the opportunity to do any sort of like longitudinal research on all of the people that you've impacted with your program? Like, I don't know if they're college age yet, or if they've been able to, go off and do other careers. But like, do you know any of these, like either anecdotally or data you could
Oh
collect?
wow, that would be so awesome. You're giving me, that's a great idea. I would
I'm
love
telling you,
to, I would really love to
it
do
would be
that.
really cool.
Because and it's so funny you should say
Yeah.
that, because it's not until just recently I was kind of blown away at the response I was getting. As mentioned when you told my intro, being an advisor for Girls Who Code, their recent program, the Leadership Academy, I was advising two cohorts of the students, and quite a
Mm-hmm.
few of them and I was helping them with leadership skills, develop leadership skills, career development, also prepping them for technical interviews. Um, and also they worked on this give back project, and so helping them with the whole project management, getting that done, because they partnered with we had a Girls Who Code has a partner, um, gosh, just left me, RTX, yeah, is the partner who was
Okay.
able to support um, this program. And it was so amazing just to get feedback from the participants at the end saying how much they really enjoyed my support, like me advising them along the way, the support that I'd
Mm-hmm.
shown them, and what they actually gained from participating, and having me as an advisor. So I was like, wow, just such kind words was being shared about just the
Yeah.
impact I had and not even realizing it. So that would be really great to kind of go back and contact those who I've at some point may have facilitated sessions or helped them, build their resume or portfolio or some sort, or help them, giving them feedback on or help them debug something. I don't know. But yeah,
Yeah.
thank you for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I was thinking of that because, you've touched so many people and we're all thinking about data as researchers. And I'm like, man, I could see this as a grant.
Mhm.
All you need to do is say, this was the pilot. These are the folks
Yes.
who we've impacted in this many ways. This is a measurement of the impact. Now give me money to hire staff. Thank
There you go.
you.
Thank you. I'm always on the lookout for those types
For
of opportunity, because the more funding be able to get for the organization, the more lives I could impact and touch, and the more help I can get too, because I need more help,
Yeah, we can talk offline
you
about
know.
this. Yeah, we can talk offline about it a bit more.
Okay.
But like the National Science Foundation has basically a broadening participation in computing
Okay.
section where basically they give grant funding to people who are opening up computing
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
opportunities
nice.
for people. So what you do falls squarely in what they do. So we can talk more about that
Okay.
offline.
Nice.
But
Nice.
as you were talking, I was like, wow, this is a BPC project.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Very good.
I was thinking about some of the stuff that I've seen that you're doing that's not necessarily squarely within tech but has connections to that. So, some of the things that I saw are, well, one that is, you contributed to a blog um with Grow with Google, and it was on like community leadership, environment advocacy, and resilience, and it talked about access, right,
Hmm.
to computing related things. So celebrating digital learning with tools
Day.
for
Hmm.
everyone, right?
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
so what was that like?
Yeah, that was actually one of the first workshops, the digital workshops that we provided at the Opalaka Tech Hire Center. And that it actually, the turnout wasn't as I expected. It was just only a handful of, I don't know if you saw the photo there
Mm-hmm.
on that particular blog, but yeah, they shared a photo, but it was just only a small group of girls that showed up, and pretty much learning about just some of the basics of the computer, turning it on and the different types of programs that's available and what each program does. In particular, the Google Suite or Workspace now. Just learning those
Mm-hmm.
different tools that they have, and doing a couple of activities, because the Google it's applied skills that Google offer has available, and anyone can gain access. If you're a teacher and even if you're a student, there's several, like hundreds of lessons that you could learn about just different topics, and they're just connecting it with their digital tools in the workspace. So you can create let's say, for example, you want to learn about, I don't know, let's say Black History Month, right? So Black History Month. So it have content about Black History Month. And let's say you want to build a website to share what you've learned about Black History Month. So what it is, it'll walk you through the steps of create using Google Sites, and then putting
Mm-hmm.
together the content you learn about Black history on the Google sites, even using Google Drive to store the pictures that you have built the site with, and just all of those
Mm-hmm.
things. So it was great to be able to do that particular workshop, to introduce the young girls to that. And again, Google having to feature that because that was on their digital skills learning day. So that was pretty
Mm.
awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, it looks like there's like even certificate programs for professionals that you can pursue if you're interested in like gaining a proficiency in an
Yep.
area where you don't really have that. So that's really
Mm-hmm.
awesome. And then just some of your like passion projects that are outside of the space, like clean energy and learning about
Yes.
identity, inclusive
Mm-hmm.
cultural competence in computing. You've participated in like a lot of these programs, Catalyst Miami. Um,
Yes. Oh wow. So yeah, it's quite a lot. So I'm trying to see what all oh gosh, not that I remember because I do remember them all. I would say some standouts for me would definitely have to be Catalyst Miami, right in South Florida. It's a nonprofit organization. They are geared to empowering, residents within different communities in South Florida on how to become leaders in different areas of concern. For example, housing. So, affordable housing in South Florida is non existent. Okay. And
mm-hmm,
so, one of the things
mm-hmm,
Catalyst Miami does is like you go through these cohort program, like between 8 to 10 week programs, leadership programs as a resident. And so, me representing Opalaka, I went and I did their clear program. So learning about climate resilience, and how does that affect my neighborhood. So Opalaka is notorious for flooding, one of the issues. And also there is the lack of shade in the area. So just really learning about what, first of all, what climate change is, and resilience, and then finding out what those issues are within my community, and then how can I, as a resident, change it. And oftentimes we see
mm-hmm,
these things and feel like, oh, it's so big, so major, I can't do it. But what Catalyst Miami did was, what they do is they not only teach you about it, but they empower you so to where you're like, man, I can tackle this, even if it's just doing one particular
Yeah.
thing. If I can tell a neighbor about it, about what it is,
yeah.
and then also how to recycle, those things. And
Mm.
so that is, and there's several
Yeah.
other leadership programs I've been through at Catalyst Miami, so much so that I became one of their ambassadors because I'm always
Oh
talking
wow.
about them. Been a part of their work since 2017. And so
Mm-hmm.
that again has empowered me to take all the knowledge I've learned about, climate change, about affordable housing, also about there's all the health disparities and access, lack of healthcare access as well. What can I do? And I found out, and so I ran with it. And in particular, the climate, learn about climate change. I was able to, because the funny thing is, though, at the end of each of those leadership like programs that Catalyst Miami offers, we have to create an end of the program project. And so when I did the climate
Mm-hmm.
change program, I created this climate change prototype app, and it's called for searching for climate I'm sorry, searching for climate change and sense. And so what it is, this prototype
Mm.
app is it's pretty much is to create awareness about what climate change is. And so it's built to where it uses search engines to, every time you put a keyword in, it takes cents and it'll donate it to whatever cause you want. For example, if you want to donate it to
Nice.
organizations that plant trees, you can do that. So again, it's built to where if you are searching for something, you use this particular search engine, and then it generates the cents, and you're able to
Hmm.
select what organization you want to donate to that's dealing with the climate. So plants, plant
That's
trees,
cool.
ocean, cleaning ocean. Also, there's some food bank charities on there too. So that's
Hmm.
something that I learned from that Catalyst Miami Clear program. Worked with that prototype app, and then I was able to get some just a small grant funding for that to continue the work with dream.org. So that's still in
Hmm.
process now. I'm just only one person.
Nice.
So I got to kind of,
But
Yeah.
you're doing a
figure out
lot.
what I want to
You're
focus
doing a
on.
lot.
You're doing a lot.
Focus on.
We need to help you scale, get you some
Please.
funds to get more
Please.
people to replicate
Thank
what you're
you.
doing in
Yes,
yourself.
absolutely. Absolutely. Because, I mean, because these are the things, I mean, I know I care about, I know other people care about, but it's just that sometimes they may get overwhelmed because they see it's so big and not hearing enough that you can start where you are. And there are just even
Mm.
the smaller
Mm.
tasks you can do that will make an impact over time. You just have to start somewhere. So that's why I always
I like that.
engage in these like community development or community initiatives, because that's the way I feel. Like, I know it's big, but if I can get me, I can tell other people about it. So I've added more people to contribute, and we can make this change.
I like it. I like it a lot. Those are like excellent like words to wrap all of not just this effort up, but like all of what you've been doing. So what's next for you? Like you're doing so much. Like what can we look out for you next?
Okay, so look out for
Running the
SheRanTech.
world.
Okay, come on, yes. Well, personally, I have been getting more interested in policy, just working with policy changes
Hmm.
and seeing how can create policy for just different areas. So I've been really looking working with organizations and learning more about advocacy and lobby days. Clio Institute, and they are with the whole climate change, resilience, empowering women, resilient women, and we are going to be going to the lobby days in Tallahassee. So there's quite a few,
Nice.
climate change and resilience and issues we want to talk to our officials about. So that is, I think, helping me to get more into looking at policy making, for not only climate change but just even in technology. There's several policies I've been kind of looking at and seeing how to make some amendments to and everything. So look for me. You may see me somewhere out there, at the Capitol. Who knows? But for She Ran
I
Tech,
like it.
She Ran Tech Inc., we are
Hmm.
actually looking to again see how we can make a greater impact in to be able to help other young girls and women, find their place in tech. And so we are going to be focusing a lot on the cyber psychology aspect of it. In terms of programming, we're still going to offer the Girls Who Code after school virtual program, and as well as the College Loops support network will still be going on next year. And who knows what else? Still working on a couple of things.
Awesome. Awesome. So, where can people find you on social media if they want to get into some of these things that you're working on, or send a message, or just get involved? How can they find you?
Okay, so let's see. Well, if you search my name, Valamere Mikler, I am on all the social media platforms. So feel free to send me a message, LinkedIn, Facebook, or Instagram, as well as Twitter. What is it now? X? It's called X now? Yeah. Yeah.
X. Yeah.
I'm still
Yeah.
not used to that.
Everybody
It's
still calls it
Twitter.
Twitter.
It's
Exactly.
Twitter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
Okay. So all of the things. If you Google search me, you will find me. Yeah. And I'm happy to connect.
awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us. I know you are a woman who is doing a million things, so we really appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to, share some of those things that you've been doing. And I really hope that our audience, especially those who are in the Miami-Dade area, take advantage of some of the things that you're doing. Like most of our listenership and viewership comes from Florida, so I really hope
Yes.
that, we get some people who are able to connect with you and participate in some of your activities.
Yeah.
Love
Thank
it.
you so
Thank
much.
you.